So there's lots of noise about service accommodation right now, and some people are getting a bit hysterical about it all. So I just thought I'd jump on and calm the waters a little bit, and actually I can see there being lots of opportunity here with people getting worried or concerned, or the naysayers talking about service accommodation, because ultimately it might cause some people to get out of serviced accommodation, and therefore there's less competition, and therefore more demand, and night rates will go up and all of that stuff, right? Because I have actually noticed lots and lots of people getting into SA in recent years, and some areas might be getting a little bit saturated, but ultimately, I actually think that this will take away lots of competition, some of the noise. Now, I'll talk about the different things that are being mentioned very, very shortly. And the thing to remember here is that lots of people are doing service accommodation, but they're really just playing, and they're not doing it right. For instance, they might just have a property on Airbnb, and they're not even on booking.com, and they're just limping along doing service accommodation. And so some of these things might actually cause people like that to decide they'll just do buy to let instead, right? So let me talk about this stuff. So section 24, the government might remove the section 24 come April of next year. And so what that will do is it will stop landlords being able to offset their mortgage interest against their income when doing serviced accommodation on properties that they own in their own name. Okay, so I'll say that again. If you've got a property in your own name and you've got a mortgage on it currently, and until further notice, you can offset your mortgage interest against your SA income, but you can't do that with buy-to-let and HMO. So what's being suggested is that's going to that relief for SA is going to be removed and give parity with buy-to-let and HMO. So I've modelled this, and I've looked at ex-buy-to-lets of ours and that are now used as SA. And if we lost that relief, higher rate taxpayer, if we lost that relief, it doesn't actually make a massive amount of difference to us. We're still making a lot more money than we were as buy-to-let. I mean, like 5 times more. And if you think about it, if competition goes, because that might tip some landlords over the edge, because they're not necessarily making as much money from their short-term rentals, right? So is that going to cause them to go away and to go do buy-to-let with a property? So obviously the government want to make it less attractive to people, to create more homes for homeowners and people to rent and stuff. So actually, yeah, I think it will cause some people to stop doing short-term rental, because losing that relief might actually be more significant to amateurs and than someone who's doing it as a business. So hopefully that one makes sense. And therefore, if there's less competition, then that suggests that there's more demand, and therefore night rates go up. So that might balance things out anyway. So I'm not too worried about that. People have said, oh, well, you can't do rent to SA, or rent to SA won't be as attractive to landlords who want to avoid Section 24. Well, if it's just fixed rent, then the landlord can't avoid Section 24 anyway. If you're just giving the landlord fixed rent, they can't avoid that. Now, whenever I've spoken in the past to landlords about doing a profit share, or maybe SA management or something like that, in order to avoid Section 24, quite often they just say, do you know what, most of the time they say, I just want fixed rent, Kev, So if that mortgage relief goes away for landlords who own the investment property in their own name, then it's not going to stop people doing rent to SA, because that's, like I said, most landlords just want fixed rent. Capital allowances, even though I bang on a lot about capital allowances, the vast majority of people doing serviced accommodation don't go through and claim their capital allowances. So again, if you're doing a rent to SA, the owner can't claim capital allowances if it's fixed rent anyway. So that's a removal of capital allowances. If that happens, that's a big if, isn't going to stop people doing rent to SA. It's not going to stop people doing serviced accommodation. And also, they'll only remove it if they remove it on April of next year. So people could still jump on and get their capital allowances done and claimed in that interim period. And so my accountant's very doubtful that they would, if the claim goes in and that sits as a loss on someone's tax return, that if they then took away the capital allowance option, that they could wipe that claim out. She thinks it's very unlikely that they would be able to do that or would do that. So actually that just means get your capital allowances claims in and all fine and dandy. Okay. VAT. So they've raised the VAT threshold to 90. And so that just means that you earn more money from service accommodation before you have to pay any VAT. TOMS, that's significant. So people who are doing rent to SA should be on the TOMS scheme, tour operators margin scheme, and it's only your profit that contributes towards your VATable income. And again, that threshold has just gone up. So that's all good. Registration, nothing to see here either. They'll just be, people who are doing SA will just have to put the properties on a register. And I think the government just want to see, or local authorities want to see, just how many are in their area. It's not going to be licensing, just a register. And there may be some tick boxes that you've got to tick just to say that you've got a gas safety certificate done and you've done your risk assessment and things like that. So nothing to worry about with the register. 90-day rule in London, that's been talked about. So the 90-day rule in London will stay the same. You can do up to 90 days worth of short-term lets in London before you would need to apply for planning. But remember, if you get any bookings, so you get nice long chunky contractor bookings of over 90 days, you're not breaching the 90-day rule, and you've still got your 90 days of short-term lets as well in London. So that's not changing, that's staying the same. Guess what? There's about 100,000 SAs in London, and the vast majority of them are exceeding the 90-day rule. But I'm just pointing out what the 90-day rule is. Now, outside of London, the 90-day rule that they're proposing to bring in the summer is that if you've got in your home or in your second home, you can do up to 90 days worth of short-term lets before you would need to apply for planning. And so that isn't on a service accommodation house or a furnished holiday let house, is it? That only applies to your home, so letting out, your spare bedroom on Airbnb, or your second home, letting that out on Airbnb. You can do that up to 90 days before you would need to apply for planning permission. So again, nothing to see there either with people that want to run a service accommodation business on flats and houses. Okay, so no issues with that 90-day rule. A lot of confusion over that, but again, I can understand the confusion, but I'm just spelling it out how it is. Article 4 and service accommodation. So what the government are suggesting is they want to bring in an Article 4 type restriction, giving local authorities the option to limit SA or short-term rental or Airbnbs, furnished holiday lets, whatever you want to call it, in a particular area. So a local authority would have the option of putting Article 4 in, and so that if anyone wanted to turn a property into a short-term rental where there's Article 4, then they would need to apply to the local authority to be able to do that. And any existing properties would have grandfather rights, so therefore they would just continue as is, and it would only be subsequent properties that would need to apply to the local authority. Remember, though, local authorities, they want tourism. They do want visitors coming in and fueling the local economy, etc. So they don't want to wipe it out completely, and but they will have the ability to control it. And it's only likely to happen in touristy hotspots where there's too many Airbnbs and not enough, first time buyer properties and properties to rent and stuff like that for tenants, So the thing is, I don't do SA in small tourist hotspots. I like the bigger towns and cities where there's all year round demand from contractors and trades. So again, I'm not worried about an Article 4 direction coming into small tourist hotspots. Those of you that got them there, you'll have grandfather rights, and it'll only be for subsequent applications would have to go through planning. Now, the use class change, C6 in Wales, C5 in England. That's going to be prior approval. So if you want to turn a C3 house, which is currently what houses and apartments are where people live, if you want to turn that into a short-term rental, that will be under prior approval, permitted development, so you won't have to go through planning. And again, if you want to go back from C5 or C6, whatever, respectively, back to C3, that's again under prior approval, permitted development. So again, nothing to see here, unless there's a Section 24 type restriction put in place where you would need to apply to go to C5 or C6 respectively. Okay, so hopefully that one clears that one up. So I think the main message that I want to put across here, because if you've got any other questions, then type them in the comments, but the main message I want to put across here is keep calm and carry on, because there's lots of hysteria going on out there. I think it's overdue that SA needed to be regulated and minimum standards to be upheld. So maybe the registration you'll need to state that you are meeting minimum standards. It's been a bit of like the Wild West SA without minimum standards being insisted upon. So I quite like the fact that there will be more minimum standards insisted upon, and that will get rid of some of the cowboys who might decide just to pull out, or they don't want to risk being a cowboy, So I see it all positive in terms of less competition, more demand, and higher night rates when it comes to serviced accommodation. So hopefully that was useful, guys. I've got a question just come in from Joseph Duncan. What do you think will be required to evidence an SA is established to get grandfather rights? Just the normal qualifying criteria. If let's say, for instance, you wanted to apply for business rates on a property being used as SA, then the local authority want you to show evidence that you've been available for 210 days and let for 105 days in order to establish that you are an up and running SA property. Okay, so that type of thing will be what they would need as evidence to establish grandfather rights. So hopefully that helps everyone. Any more questions, if you're watching this on catch up, fire away. My team will put this onto multiple different platforms and groups and different social medias and stuff. So however you want to communicate with me, that's fine. So keep calm and carry on, guys. When all about you are losing their heads, just don't lose yours. Okay, so here's your success team in serviced accommodation. Remember, where there's adversity, there's opportunity. And also remember, your future needs you. Take care.